Paradoxes, we don't like them, but they're all around us. Like in physics with the double slit experiment, where matter and energy can act as a wave or a particle depending on the experiment. Light is a wave, it has wavelengths. No, light is a particle, it's a photon. There are so many paradoxes in music, like with the singer Sting. If you love somebody, if you really love someone, set them free? In psychology, there's ironic process theory, where the psychological phenomenon that if you try really, really hard not to think about something, it's what you end up thinking about. Don't think about chocolate, don't think about chocolate, don't think about chocolate, don't think about chocolate. All I can think about is chocolate. In philosophy, my first year at university, free will versus determinism. I am free to do what I want anytime. But all those choices, man, they're just an illusion, because your genes, your conditioning, all of those dictate everything that you are ever going to do. You're not really free. And yes, in our theology, God is our Father. No, God is Jesus. No, he's not. God is Spirit. The Lord our God is one. And that strange paradox that both of us are speaking to you right now. Paradoxes, we don't like them. They make our brains hurt. Yet they are essential to life as we know it. They are a part of our makeup. They are a part of our universe. They are a part of all fields of science and scientific theory, of our art, our music, our history. Paradoxes are everywhere. Paradoxical Jesus, paradoxical you. This sermon series has been an amazing unpacking of some of the paradoxes that we find in Scripture and our faith. Beginning with the first one, Paradox 1, Confident Sufferers. Pastor Chris sharing with us about our heavenly, eternal core that is wrapped in fragile jars of clay. Adam talking to us in broken perfection from Romans 7 and 8 about the fact that we are same time saint and sinner. Emma's amazing message, Time-Bound Eternal Outlooks, where she looks at the Word becoming flesh, God himself becoming a human being. And then Adam last week with personal worldview, the fact that we are deeply personal but at the same time inherently collective. So I encourage you to go back on Facebook and the website and check these out for yourselves, because there's some real gems here. Today the topic is bold humanity, the Son of Man coming to serve. In the Gospel of Mark, there are 3 related instances of verbal paradox, and I'll read them for you now. Mark 8 verse 35, whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. Mark 9:35, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last. And Mark 10:43-44, from today's reading, whoever wishes to become great shall be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first shall be slave of all. These statements occur within the context of Jesus' 3 passion predictions, his 3 predictions about his suffering and death. And then 3 times where the disciples completely get it wrong, and 3 times where Jesus has to correct and teach them. And I'm fascinated by how this reading ends up. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. A ransom, it's simply the amount of cash paid to free a slave. And here we hear that Jesus is the one who takes the form of the slave himself, becomes obedient to the point of death on the cross, thereby providing the ransom that frees you and me, that frees us who are slaves of this world, of sin, of death. You know, the old Protestant reformers often referred to Jesus as prophet, priest, and king. You may have heard that before. Jesus is our prophet, he's our priest, he's our king. But in Mark we hear the opposite. We hear that Jesus is servant, outcast, religious criminal on death row, rejected even by God himself. The Son, pure, holy, sacred Son of heaven, comes not to lead but to serve. He lowers his status to the very bottom. And it is not what we expect. It's not what James and John were expecting, because they were expecting the Messiah. They had seen in the previous verses, seen Jesus transfigured before their very eyes in this blazing shower of light. And there he is talking in this heavenly realm to Elijah, talking to Moses, the father of the Israelite nation. They've seen Jesus heal. They've seen Jesus release people from demonic possession. Here is the person who is going to free us from the hated Roman occupation, unite the nation. He's going to make Judea great again. And you can picture James and John jostling for position here, can't you? It is just so human. Quick, get in there before anyone else. I bags first place. It's all about me, my privilege. I deserve first class seats, not economy. I deserve to be at the top of the game. I deserve the perks of the job. I get to lead. Brothers and sisters, say this with me. It is not about me. Let me hear you. It's not about me. If there's one lesson that the disciples learn in this instance, it's that it's not about me anymore. That being a disciple of Jesus means letting that go. You want to be like Jesus? Look for ways to help others. Want to sit at Jesus' right hand? Help the poor. Be a friend to the social outcast, the outcast at school or work. Don't just do your chores. Offer to do more. Put others' needs before yours, the needs of your partner, your co-worker, your brother or sister, church member or non-church member, anyone you meet. Think, what do they need? You know, a long time ago when we were starting Mawson Lakes Community Church and I was a young up-and-coming pastor, my senior pastor Peter Steichen and I, we were reading books about mega churches, and that was the era of the mega church. You know, if you wanted to really grow, if you wanted to be a great church, you had to be a mega church. When you are a mega church, then you can do great things, and if your church is doing great things, then you by definition are a great pastor. And me, I was on that track. Things were growing here at Mawson Lakes. Things were moving ahead. We were doing this and we were doing that. We were looking after the poor. We were growing. We were gaining in numbers. And then I'm injured. And 20 years later, Peter Steichen left the glory of a big church to start a bunch of humble house churches. MLCC isn't a mega church. It's a micro church. I'm not a pastor of a great number of people. I'm a pastor of, well, very few on a part-time basis. And therefore, I'm not a great pastor. It's not what I expected. Last week, Adam shared this great slide of Mother Teresa, this amazing person who cared for the poor and destitute. Let me read it for you again. God required her to do small things with great love, and that while government welfare programs exist for quite admirable purposes, Christian love is for one person. Boom. Mind blown. I'm sitting there and I'm suddenly realizing it is okay to be a pastor just for a few people. It's okay to just love a few people. It's okay. MLCC, you don't have to be a mega church to be a great church. You can be a humble micro church that does great things. That does a few things, but does them really, really well. That cares for a few people really well. That loves people really well. We don't have to be king of the jungle. We can be small. We can be nimble. We can be agile. Sure, we need to grow. And now with Adam here, we have an amazing opportunity to look at things afresh and do new things and go new places and reach more people. But our focus is not about growth. Growth isn't our focus. Jesus is our focus. And Jesus teaches us to have bold humility, to put our needs second and to serve others.